I sat down with opposition leader Peter Dutton this afternoon, and we've seen Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong succumb to the green left politics and allow racists and aggressive protesters to call the shots in this country. Well, Peter Dutton says if he's Prime Minister, he would order the police chiefs to use laws available to them to crack down on activists and others committing hate crimes.
The police chiefs would understand very clearly that my government would have zero tolerance for anti-Semitic conduct in our country. It would send a very clear message to others that the conduct would not be tolerated and that people would be arrested and prosecuted through the courts.
And Peter Dutton has also criticised Penny Wong for harming Australia's international reputation. He says Wong and Albanese are still living in their student politics days.
I think they're still, frankly, living their university campus lives. And it's time for them to grow up, because Penny Wong has made a catastrophic mistake which I think has harmed our international reputation and certainly significantly damaged our relationship with Israel.
My exclusive sit down with Peter Dutton coming up. Well, former federal Labor MP Michael Danby says there is something seriously wrong with the government under Wong and Albanese when criticism about Israel comes so easily, but there's basically silence on China.
Penny Wong and Albo shout and bully at the tiny democracy Israel in the Middle East, but they're pussycats when it comes to China.
And what he says is true. Albanese did not say a word to Chinese President Xi Jinping when his army injured our Navy divers with a sonar attack. Yet Albanese goes over the top in attacking Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, even though he unreservedly apologised and committed to a full inquiry into the death of an Australian aid worker in a war zone. And now there are revelations tonight that Chinese spies have targeted a top Australian security research institute, ASPI, that the Albanese government is considering defunding. Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Patterson says it's a scandal that ASPI's funding could be stripped by Labor.
If confirmed, it does indicate what we all know, which is that ASPI is a favoured target of the Chinese Communist Party and its agencies, because ASPI has exposed some of the horrendous conduct of the Chinese government over the recent years, in particular its human rights abuses in Xinjiang, but also its behaviour in Hong Kong, in the South China Sea, in the East China Sea, across the Taiwan Straits, even in our own democracy. I mean, ASPI research has been globally influential for an Australian think tank, has changed the conversation about the West's relationship with China in a positive way, because it's brought reality to the eyes of all of us. So the prospect that the Albanese government is going to strip funding away from ASPI, I think, is a scandal, and as we know, was a demand of the Chinese government on the list of 14 demands.
But it's not just ASPI that's vulnerable under Labor. Even our intelligence community has been excluded. You'll recall that I reported that the heads of ASIO and ASIS were kicked out of the National Security Committee of Cabinet. ASIO head Mike Burgess and ASIS chief Kerry Hartland are no longer permanent members of Albanese's National Security Committee in an absurd move. Well, Peter Dutton told me this afternoon that it's a move he simply can't understand.
I just don't think it's front of mind for them. I don't think they have the relationships with the intelligence community. They've excluded the intelligence chiefs from the National Security Committee.
OK, that exclusive interview is coming up tonight on the show. Dutton does not mince his words. He is very strong on the Prime Minister and Penny Wong. And it is very clear that this Albanese government is deprioritising national security. And Penny Wong and Albanese appear to be favouring our enemies and treating dictators with kid gloves while smashing our long-term bipartisan allies. It's a confused and bewildering foreign policy agenda that has serious national security experts shaking their heads.